Hello and welcome to the Frank Fryer channel. I am the Frank Fryer, aka Father Nick, and today I wanted to make a quick little video about discernment. Because within the Catholic world, that's one of the big words we always hear about is discernment. What to do and how to do it. We should never be rash and rushing into judgment of anything. Prudence is always necessary, but how does one work out a prudent decision? Well, discernment and the different processes within the church are helpful. There's the one that the majority of people know, the Ignatian Method, and that's a very active approach. That is a very choice-based approach because that mirrored his lifestyle. What should I do? And he wrestled with that question. But we don't look at that in relationship to Carmel. In Carmel, when we talk about discernment, we are thinking about and looking at and trying to understand how to go deeper into communion. I'm going to be thinking primarily today about St. John of the Cross because he talked a lot about discernment, even though he didn't necessarily use the word. Because for him, people already made a choice. He was writing to people in the religious life. So they have chose to live out allegiance to Jesus Christ with a pure heart and a stout conscience, which is the beginning principle of the Carmelite rule. But how does one discern to go deeper into that communion based on the choice one made? That's the understanding of discernment in Carmel, I feel and I believe. And in wrestling with this deeper call to communion, this Carmelite discernment, we deal with the different senses and spiritual approaches. Dark night of the senses, dark night of the spirit, as John of the Cross speaks about this, needing to be purified, to remove attachments, to get to the pure basis of communion. Because the choice that we've made to live out our way of life in allegiance to Jesus Christ, for me it's being a Carmelite friar and a priest. For others, it might be the married life. For others, it might be the single life, etc. It's all about going deeper into that communion. So once we've committed on a way, how can we take that way to a deeper communion with Jesus Christ? That's Carmelite discernment. That's what we're about. That's what we're looking at and wrestling with and trying to aid others in the process of. So, for example, someone wants to enter religious life, and within Catholic land, Catholic Church, there's many kinds of orders, many kind of congregations. There's as many under the sun that one can think of. So what should a person do? Well, if they've already made the commitment, I feel called to religious life. Now the question goes to, which group will help me to live in deeper communion with this call I've received? So that's the beginning question for maybe a Carmelite discernment in relationship to religious life. Not just, am I called or not I called? Wrestling with people that said, I feel called for this. Now I need help to go deeper. That's where a Carmelite can step in. And the same goes well with spouses. I'm committed to marrying this person. How can I live out my matrimony in a deeper way to bring about a fuller communion between my spouse and I and the Lord? So Carmelite discernment may not necessarily be about making a choice for A or B. It's based on having already made the choice, but how does one live out that choice in a deeper and more meaningful way that brings about communion with God? Because all the things we choose should be orientated for our relationship with Jesus Christ and for neighbor. And as we live out our choice, that's where all of our attachments get into place. So this is just a little intro video into the concept of sort of discernment in the Carmelite tradition. And if you want a good book, here's a good book I highly recommend. Temptation and Discernment. I can't remember the name without looking at it, and I don't want to turn the book around again. But he really does a great job in sort of comparing Ignatius order, the Ignatian method, and a Carmelite perspective. There are similarities. It's not that they're totally against each other because Carmelites are called to live an active life, but it's the emphasis, what's being emphasized in that approach. And I think one of the gifts that Carmel brings to the world is that we are called to go into a deeper communion with God. Our work helps with this. Our prayer helps with this. Our relationship with others help with this. Our spiritual reading help with this. All of it is geared towards going into deeper communion, which is a way we can live always in allegiance to Jesus Christ. So if you're out there trying to discern a call, am I called to the religious life? Am I called to matrimony? Am I called to... If you feel committed, make the choice and seek a deeper communion. Let your yes mean yes and your no mean no. You can't be wishy-washy on these things. So if you need help with discernment, reach out. You can find me at my website, thefrankfriar.com. I'll be happy to help you. You can email me too at thefrankfriar@gmail.com. You're not in this alone. There are many people out there to help you in your discernment. If you're looking at maybe coming into the Catholic Church or discerning a way of living out your call to Jesus Christ in your religious order, remember the Lord calls us to communion. He has a place for us at his table. So, as we journey through this life, we've all been given. Remember, I am with you and I'm praying for you. And if you like this video today, please, as I said before, check my website out, thefrankfriar.com. There you can find my weekly blog, links to my Catholic Stand articles. You can find links to my YouTube channel, which is The Frank Friar, my podcast. All these things I make for your benefit, to help nourish you in the spiritual life that you have been given. That's why I do what I do. That's the gift of Carmelite, because as Pope Francis and Pope Benedict XVI both said, a Carmelite without prayer is a dead body. And I want us all to be a living body infused with the Spirit of God, the Holy Spirit. So thank you again, my brothers and sisters, and know that I'm praying for you. And remember, God is blessing you. Goodbye.